and you're welcome to Business Highlights on Trust TV, where I take you through some of the biggest economic and business developments of the week. My name is Chamon Dabeng, and I will be your host. We're opening the show with the bull and the bear on the market. In the trading week ending Friday, May 20th, investors in Nigeria's stock market lost nearly 64 billion naira, with 4 days of losses and only 1 day of gains. The market fell 0.23% week over week, causing favorable month-to-date and year-to-date returns to hit fresh lows of 6.73% and 24.03% respectively. Nigerian Exchange Limited NGX All Share Index ASI and market capitalization, which had begun the review week at 53,098.46 points and 28.626 trillion naira respectively, had fallen to 52,979.96 points and 28.562 trillion naira. Looking at the market sectorial indices, the NGX Banking Index fell 1.24% in the review week, followed by the NGX Consumer Goods Index, which fell 1.01%, and the NGX Industrial Index, which fell 0.61%. However, the NGX Insurance Index rose to 3.63%, followed by NGX Oil and Gas, which rose 0.3%. In total, there were 4,716 deals with a volume of 436.5 million, valued at 3.2 billion naira. The top three gainers for the week were Nemeth, Con Oil, and McNichols, up by 10, 9.88, and 9.79 respectively. And the three top losers were Learn Africa, Global Spectrum Energy Services PLC, and Academy, down by 10, 9.79, and 9.56% respectively. Well, that's all for the market, and after the break, we're going to be moving on to top stories. I'll be right back. You're welcome back to Business Highlights on Trust TV. And once again, my name is Chamon Dabeng, and it's time for Top Stories. Well, today on Top Stories, our focus is going to be on the rural development or the lack thereof. Quite a few of Nigeria's rural areas are in lack of basic infrastructure. When we take a look at the rural communities, they are highly dependent on agriculture as a means of income, but unavailability of basic infrastructure has affected this development. In the grand scheme of things, what is Nigeria losing by not investing and developing the rural communities? The country is losing a lot. Why is it that village economy is not being taken advantage of? Well, joining me in the studio today is business and education consultant Agaba Wilson Agaba. Now, how would you say both the state and the federal government have handled the rural economy, the rural communities of Nigeria?
For a very long time now, you would observe that the government at all levels have not really paid attention to the rural settlement. Let alone talk about the economic importance they bring. And so to that extent, we have seen a huge rural-urban migration. A lot of people are in the city today, not because they would naturally be, but because there's no serious economic activities going on in the rural area. There is no integration of the activities of the rural areas into the cities. And to that extent, we are having what we have today. The nemesis of rural-urban migration, the nemesis of food price hike, the nemesis of lack of employment, and all of this are coming from the fact that over the years we have not made conscious and sustained effort to integrate our rural settlement into the entire country's economic activities and otherwise.
All right, but as far as responsibility goes, when it comes to the development of the rural area, whose responsibility is it? Is it the state government? Is it the local government? Is it the federal government? Who is supposed to, take up that responsibility?
You know, the Constitution had done well by assigning several different levels of responsibility to different tiers of the government. There are areas where the federal government is involved, something like electricity and all of that, and any other minerals that is under the earth within any rural environment is the responsibility of the federal government to help develop that. But every other thing else belongs to the state. And if you look at things like agriculture, if you look at rural road construction, sometimes you don't even need to asphalt these roads. You just open them up, grade them, make them motorable so that these trucks can go into the villages and bring these foods out, bring whatever it is that these villages produce out to the main people. Now, today we are here buying food at very high prices, and I guarantee you that there are many villages today that foods are wasting. Yeah. Because we don't have access to these villages where people can even go and buy these things in high quantity. And because of that, most of them are also discouraged from producing. When I was in the village, what we do is to produce just enough to feed ourselves. Because sometimes if you want to produce in large magnitude to go and sell, you don't have the market, you don't have where you can take it to, and you lose. So you just produce what you can eat, and a little extra to sell, to buy some of the things we don't produce locally. Yeah. So, but the states and the local government, which have been, the local government have been bastardized already, they have been removed from the scheme of things. The governors have crippled them, so to say. Otherwise, they are the closest to these rural people. So they should be able to understand the needs of every rural settlement, integrate them, and come up with comprehensive programs so that the state government will support, and where the state government needs the support of the federal government through the governor, they can put that across to any sitting president, and where necessary laws needs to be made, then they put this across to the National Assembly members and all of that. But what we see today is what we see. Yes.
Well, anyway, we did go into a Dagba community, which is located in Abaji. And we know that Abaji is actually part of Abuja, it's part of the FCT. We went in to see what they were actually going through, and this is what we got. Let's take a look.
Adagba is a village located on the outskirts of Abuja. The community, which suffered an attack by bandits earlier this month, is also plagued by a lack of development. Despite its proximity to developed parts of the city, the community lacks basic amenities. Mohammed Atahiru is a resident of the community who has lived there all his life. He speaks on the struggles of the community.
We don't have electricity, but before, government tried to bring the electricity, but it couldn't work. Why? Do you know? No, because they planted the transformer, but unfortunately they could not come and continue.
And they didn't give any reason as to why they
did not give any reason, and they started stealing this transformer and the wire.
Okay, so what about electricity, water? How do you guys get water?
The water is very far from here. This is where we used to get our water. There is River Gurara here. During this rainy season, you see the River Gurara. During the rainy season, the River Gurara, it will turn somehow. So until we put alum before we can drink it.
The lack of development also extends to the lack of schools for all age groups within the area, and the situation is further worsened by insecurity.
We are having primary school here. It is only primary school that we are having. And some time ago, we even complained to government that we need secondary school and junior school, but up to now, there is no anything that has been done.
So where are these kids at home?
No, there is primary school here, where they are going to.
Okay, yes. So they've gone and come back?
No, there is no, because of this incident that happened last time, the teachers, they are no, up to now, they have never resumed.
We get primary school, but we don't have junior school. Our children, our brother, they used to trek from here to Yaba, daily. They used to trek from here to Yaba, daily. But in the rain season, we do used to have problem. If rain falls, some of them, they cannot trek. During Harmattan again, the same thing. We do used to have problem. That's why we love, if government will help us and support us, give us our junior school here. Because there's many communities surrounding us here.
The insecurity pushed many of the residents to flee for safety. As a semblance of peace returns to the community, only a few of the residents have returned. Majority of the businesses have remained shut, while others are still suffering from the after effects of the attack by bandits.
Among the old people, none of them that have opened. It's only the person that is selling chemical. It's the one. The other trader that we used to manage is one of our brothers that just get a little change, buy it, and be selling it for so that we should not remain like this, because anything that we need before until we go Yaba.
It has affected me a lot, honestly. It affected me a lot. During Salah, maybe before Salah, I was planning to get like maybe 30K or 40K because of business. But due to this incident, honestly, people flee away from this community. It pains me a lot. There was no business going on in this area. So I'm praying for people to come back. People are just coming back, coming and going by. They don't pass a night here again because of this incident that happened.
Financial inclusion for the community is also a major problem, with the closest bank to it located more than 30 kilometers away.
Just like 30 kilometers or 30 something from here to Abaji. That is why we used to operate our bank. But at times, some of us, when Abaji, because due to the population that Abaji is occupied now, we used to enter Gogalada direct. Because it's only First Bank that Abaji has. No any bank again in Abaji. It's only First Bank.
The residents are calling out to the government to bring development to the people of Adagba. They want good roads, running water, electricity, and a junior secondary school, and most importantly, security within the area.
Well, that is one of the rural communities within the country. Of course, we have so many more in different states, and you know, they're all suffering. Basically, it's all the same thing, really, when you go there. It's almost all the same issue when you go to certain places. There's always the issue of road infrastructure. There's always electricity. There's always water. Even for me, where I come from, for the longest time, we had absolutely no electricity. That development was maybe about 3 years ago when there was finally electricity in that area. But looking at this video, what actually comes to mind? What do you think of?
You would have observed that I was very quiet throughout the time he played, and so many thoughts crossing my mind, so many things that I think that we could do if we have sincerity of purpose, so many things I think that we could do and change lives. And I hope that the people in the right places begin to look at things this way. We cannot continue to go this way. We cannot continue to have people thrown out of their houses. We cannot continue to have people suffering for the very basic things that we seem to have in abundance. I mean, we have rivers everywhere and we don't have water to drink. We have natural resources everywhere and many people seem to be very poor. I mean, these things are touching. There's no time you watch something like this and you wouldn't want to turn around and cover your face and cry or something. You know?
I completely understand.
So it's difficult to process. I mean, I'm still trying to wriggle out of it. It's not like it's worse than what is obtainable in my own village, but then each time you watch it, you will feel all of this. But I think that these things are not too difficult if we have sincerity of purpose. I once spoke with somebody in position who could do something, and some of the things he said is that, you see, this our issue of agricultural development, because I always fall back to agriculture. Most of our villages have arable lands, and you see, because of the settlement, it's difficult sometimes to bring infrastructure that will serve a large number of people. You know, you want to talk about redundancy of this infrastructure, efficiency, and all of that. But then you can use an approach. You know, the person actually told me that, look, it's difficult to bring something to these villages because they are tiny, and they are spread across, and you don't know how to integrate
But does that
them.
have to include electricity and water?
Yeah, exactly.
Nonetheless, these are still human beings. These are still human beings who have to function normally.
We can actually cluster. And how do we do that? We can actually have economic clusters. Okay, let's start with agriculture, which is very basic for us. So we can go to an area and say, okay, let's get 1,500 hectares together here, and let's make a farm settlement. So that in that farm settlement, you can have a water supply, you can have a school, you can have a hospital, you can have everything that a society needs. And once there's economic activity anywhere, people tend to go there and settle. And that way you can actually attend to them like humans. And they will also not just be there, but they can now generate things that would, help the economy grow. They are producing food, and then we can buy food at cheaper rate. We can even eat good food, and they themselves can have good lives. And then our education in that form also will become purposeful. Because why do we have to learn agriculture in the classrooms when we have arable lands?
Yeah.
So the schools you build on that agricultural cluster becomes a practical school for agriculture. So they learn when you plant and you do X, Y, Z, this is the yield you get. If you plant and you do ABC, this is the yield you get. And then these things can be documented, and then it can be practiced elsewhere. Instead of staying in the class, they teach you, this is this sickness of cassava. They try to show you the disease on a paper and all of that.
It has to be practicalized.
It has to be practical. So
yes.
If we do a little bit of clustering, it's not going to solve the whole issue, but it's going to reduce the number of people. Exactly. It's going to reduce the number of people that have to suffer for this. And then it's going to, make these facilities available and closer to the people. Then you can take it from there. And you see, all of these things are integrated. Infrastructure going into the villages opens them up. Now, if you create jobs in the village by opening the infrastructure up, they can farm and bring it out, and we can buy. Price of food will go down for us. A lot of more people are engaged farming. They don't necessarily need to gravitate to the town and don't have a job and then constitute nuisance. If a man is on the farm, working on his farm, and he knows it's going to be productive for him, he is not available for any miscreant to come and recruit.
Okay, but you see now, as much as I do agree with the solution that you've proposed for the rural economy, there's still one big issue that is yet to be dealt with, and that's the issue of insecurity. Like the video that was put out in the video, there was a very recent bandit attack. And many of the people, even the first time that we actually went into Adagba community, a few days after the incident happened, as we were coming in, people were fleeing. And this is the issue. Many of them have still not even returned. Many of the businesses are still closed. Many of them are still not functioning. Even coming through and looking at what was happening, there were very few people that had managed to come back to the community itself. And that's a problem that extends to the whole country. So how do you bring in infrastructure or, certain programs that will just end up being, should I say, messed up by insecurity or derailed by insecurity? Yes,
now, our challenge, what we are facing today, didn't just start yesterday.
Yes.
It is a problem that has been long coming due to our cumulative negligence and the I don't care attitude towards our problems. When we see issues hitting, nobody takes the courage to say, oh, let's fix this thing even before it starts affecting us. When you see some of these developed countries who even plan 100 years ahead, they look at indices. Oh, what is our population growth projection? What is our industrialization level? What is our education enrollment? What is this? What is that? They do all of these things, over time. But yet, they still have problems of insecurity. Not to talk of us who don't have any continuous and sustained conscious effort to avoid this. We should look at education. We should look at job creation. We should look at actually knowing our people. There is no comprehensive record as of today, 2022, that can give an account of every Nigerian or anybody who is in Nigeria that is not a Nigerian. Our borders are very porous, and over time we have had this attitude of, it doesn't concern me. You see somebody new in your community, you don't tell anybody. Now let's say the person is responsible enough to even tell somebody. That somebody will not even do anything about it. So over time, nobody cares. It's just as long as it is not sitting on my head, no problem, let it go. And these are the little things that constitute the kind of problem we are having today. Most of these bandits, some of them are not from here, some of them are from here. And then because our people are available, idle-minded, no job for them, there's no reasonable hope for them, any little thing you offer them, they join you. And so that's a problem. So I understand we have a big problem, but then we need to really start making effort. Is it too late? It's not yet too late, but we need to drop politics aside. We need to come together as a nation and say, okay, where do we want to go? We want to be a nation where our people have hope and aspiration, and where they have the conducive environment to ensure that their hope comes to fruition.
All right, so part of the issues that the community itself is experiencing is the educational aspect of it all. Now, they said that they only had one school, which was a primary school, nursery and primary school within that area. And for children who wanted to go to junior secondary school or secondary school itself, they would have to walk. Now, I've seen the distance that these children have to walk. It's really far, and once there's rain, they cannot go to school. Now, coming back to the education, what is the correlation between education and the Nigerian economy?
Okay, to do that, I'll take you back to some concept in economics. The factors of production. You have land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. I will bring out labor and entrepreneurship from this area. Labor, you and I, what you do here, you are offering your skills, time, and talent for wages or salary. All right? Good. And the person managing this, who owns this business, is an entrepreneur. He has put it together. He brings his skills to create value that somebody is willing to pay for. Now, to do this, you need a good level of education. So where the education is low, creativity and innovation will be low. And even the businesses that will come to that area will not have enough skills to hire. And as a result, they won't come. Now, in determining the location of a business, one of the key factors is access to labor, the kind of labor that you will need to operate your business. So it means where there is no education, no business owner wants to situate their businesses there, because you cannot continue to import labor from other places to a very far location, except if there's so much natural resources and the other environmental factors are very favorable. So you can see that the level of education of any society have direct bearing on the economic success of that society, even taking it from these two perspectives alone. And let's not go to the other factors, which is the social vices. I mean, research has also pointed out that when a person, the more educated a person is, the more likely the person is to engage in social vices. So if you have more educated people, they know the implication of missteps, a single misstep, and then they know the spiral effect. They think very far before they take action. But where people don't know, they act in ignorance. Okay? And that generates social vices, and that generates social unrest. And because of that, no businesses can come in. And if no businesses come in, there is no improvement in economic activity. There's no improvement in economic activity. People are poor. That means standard of living low.
Yes, looking at...
So we can take it from different angles, and you'll see how education drastically impact the economic development of any society.
It's funny when you look at it as a total, you know, it just brings about one big problem. But when you actually break it down and look at it in its singularity, look at the lack of electricity, look at the lack of running water, good, healthy water. I mean, you have to go to the river to get water. And when it's rainy season, you have to use alum. There are health implications to all of that. And once you start breaking it down and then, you know, seeing the problems and seeing the, you know, different issues that these things actually present, it sort of spirals into one big issue.
Exactly.
Which is what we face on a daily basis. There's, you know, it affects the workforce. It affects, like you said, creativity and intelligence at itself. That's when you have no education. There's so many issues. And, you know, we do need to take a hold of them, take them by the ball, and start solving each one of them in order for us to have a more peaceful and more developing economy. All right, so we have come to the end of our show for today, and I would like to thank my guests in the studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Wilson, for being a part of the show. And to our guests out there, thank you so much for tuning in. Yes, do not forget to follow us on our social media platforms. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Yes, just look up Trust TV News. You definitely find us there. Well, once again, my name is Chamun Dabeng. Please do come back next weekend. Let's do this again.